let me talk about the second person that we're going to feature today, and that is Rick Doblin from MAPS. I'm a massive fan of Rick Doblin. He's one of the nicest guys you've ever met. He's been on London Real, I think 3 times. I had him on originally 7 years ago. Rick has been fighting to make MDMA legal and legal for therapeutic purposes for nearly 30 years. He has been fighting to legalize marijuana and make it able to be studied legally in America for the same amount of time. Rick is really at the forefront, and he specializes in MDMA. And what they do is they do doctor-assisted therapy, where there'll be 2 psychologists that will sit there in a room with you when you take your MDMA. They mainly do this with veterans and firefighters suffering from PTSD, and they'll literally walk them through events. So say you were in Afghanistan, and you were walking down the road, and your best buddy in front of you stepped on an IED, and both of his legs were blown off, and you had a concussion, and you had to see that happen. You had to watch that happen. You're going to have most likely some post-traumatic stress disorder that's very difficult to process. And whenever you recall that event, your whole body is going to be triggered. You're going to have an emotional reaction because it's almost like you were there. And that event is going to change the way you interact with the world the rest of your life. Relationships, you get back into a non-war situation, it's going to feel like a war situation. What Rick is able to do, or what he's trying to do with MDMA, is get you in a state where you can go back and try to process what happened in that microsecond and what happened and talk about it and try to feel it and flesh it out to where it's not some blockage that's inside of you as a trauma. And that's why I think MDMA is really interesting. And if you've ever done it for recreational reasons, and I have, you'll know that MDMA just puts a lot of love in your heart. It really opens you up to the world, and it can actually be a transformative experience. It also can be an addictive and potentially dangerous drug too. But that's what Rick's trying to do. And he does it with couples therapy, with war veterans, and some really interesting things. And this is Rick talking about this whole concept of fear extinction using drugs like MDMA.
And so under MDMA, the memory comes up from the unconscious. He's able to sort of disentangle what's called episodic memory and emotional memory get linked together.
Okay.
But under MDMA, what's happening is we're changing the emotional tone, which is fear, from when it's really happening at the moment, to something that's been processed, been metabolized, and it's into the past, and you're able to look at it with a little bit of a sense of peace. And so it's also called, neuroscience called fear extinction and memory reconsolidation. So the way memory works, it's distributed throughout the brain. You remember something, but it's not like taking a book off the shelf, reading it, and then sticking it back. You actually are like reprinting the book. You have to that's why sometimes people's memories change over time. You remember something, and so what we're though doing is trying to help people have a more accurate memory of the episode, but to replace the emotional tone. So when you reconsolidate the memory, you're reconsolidating it from a sense of peacefulness that the MDMA can give you and a sense that the episode happened in the past. It's not always about to happen again.
Okay.
So then when you've reconsolidated the memory in that way, the next time you remember it, you remember the episode, but you've switched out the emotional tone to it. And that's how you no longer have PTSD.
And that was Rick talking about this concept of fear extinction. Again, if you want to learn more about all he has to say, go to londonreal.tv. You can watch all 3 of his episodes for free. If you're interested also in participating in his studies, you can go to maps.org. And they're doing incredible work here. Seriously, there should be a statue built of Rick Doblin. He's that incredible. He's been fighting for 30 years for this stuff, and he's now having a tremendous amount of success. So much love going out to Rick. At London Real, we believe that individual transformation can change the world. Join us and start your journey today.